Welcome to another episode of Denise Cooks for Diabetics. Today we're going to make a Bolognese sauce. Now a Bolognese sauce is a little bit different from your traditional meat sauce. I researched this last night. A meat sauce is of course with meat. It's thick sauce, especially if you're making a ragu, it's going to be very thick. A Bolognese is going to be even thicker. And with a Bolognese, you're adding some vegetables, or you could add some pancetta, which is like an Italian ham, if you like. It's a little bit too salty, so I typically don't do it. I'm using ground beef today, but you could also add pork, which is also another traditional for a Bolognese. So the typical trilogy for starting a lot of recipes in Europe, in France and in Italy, is carrots, onions, and celery. I'm not a fan of celery, so I will very often leave the celery part out. So with my Bolognese today, I have carrots that I put through my food processor so they get nice and tender, and you don't want to crunch on a piece of carrot in your Bolognese sauce. I don't anyway. And then some onions also in the food processor. So this was a cup of carrots. I used baby carrots because I just happened to have had them, so I cut them up and then I food processed them. My onion is a half of a large onion, or it could be one smaller onion. But once again, it's always to your taste. If you prefer not, that's fine. Now another ingredient that is debatable, some people would not ever put garlic in a Bolognese, and other people do put garlic in a Bolognese. So I'm going to go to my handy dandy Dangold spice mixes that I love, and to my mix, once it gets browned, I'm going to add a capful of my garlic and onion and a capful of my oregano, basil, and tomato. So I'm going to have this really seasoned up. A little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper to go with that. And of course, my favorite crushed tomatoes in the can, Cento. It's the sweetest, least acidic. It's so delicious. You don't have to cook it that long. However, what I read is a traditional Bolognese sauce is cooked like 3 to 4 hours. So today, I'm going to do that. We're going to cook it for 3 hours. Don't worry, you don't have to stay and watch the whole time. We don't want to watch the pot. But that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to see it comes out so very tender. Now, if you only have a half hour or an hour, it will work. Okay. So what I've done first ahead of time is I browned my meat. Now my meat was very lean. Typically what I will do is I'll brown the beef first, and then I will add it to a paper towel in a bowl to soak up any extra fat. You see, it's not that much. It's really not a lot at all. Now we have some things that are stuck to this pan here, and that's okay, because later when I incorporate everything into the sauce, I'll add a little wine first, and that will deglaze everything. That's another thing that I read. Traditionally in a meat sauce, there is red wine. In a Bolognese, they add white. Now what I have today is kind of a sweet rosé. That's what I'm going to add. So, you use it, to your taste. So there's my beef, really not a lot of oil at all. This is a pound of ground beef. 1 pound. So I'm not making a lot, as you can see, and I am only going to use possibly half this can. I'm going to try not using so much tomato sauce, which is traditional for Bolognese, and also cream. This is not cream or milk, or in my case, evaporated milk. We're going to use a 1/4 cup evaporated milk at the end. We're not going to put that in until the end. Okay. So to my pan, we're going to brown up the onions and the carrots. I have 2 tablespoons of butter. That's also traditional butter. It's not always olive oil. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil as well. 1, 2. Okay. So this is going to heat up, and you're going to come a little bit closer and see how I brown up and I add my spices. Hi, Hi, so our pan is nice and sizzling with the oil and the butter, as you can see. I'm going to add my onion. Nice sizzle. Okay, I have that on medium. I'm going to put it up to medium high, only because it can cook a little faster because it's going to simmer so long in the sauce. I just want to brown it. So we're going to, we're going to wait about 5 minutes for it to brown. Hi, so we've been sauteing the onion for about 4 minutes. Okay, it's nice and browned. I'm now going to add my seasonings so they can really get incorporated and brown a little bit in the onion. Okay, I'm going to add a little sauce, like a pinch. We'll test it later. I don't want to add too much because my garlic and onion mix has some, a little bit of salt in it. You have to check these ingredients. Some have salt, some do not. Okay, so there's my capful. Not a big capful. There's a lot going on in here, so I don't need a heaping capful, which I do sometime. We're not making it as much sauce. And my oregano, basil, and tomato. If you don't have these and you want to just add some garlic, go ahead. Like I said, 3 twists of my pepper. Really just, you kind of do what you like. Okay, so this, I can smell this. It's so delicious. It's getting brown. We're cooking our seasonings a little bit. That brings the flavor out when you cook the seasonings. Oh, I wish you could smell this. It is so good. All right, now I'm going to add my carrot. I'm not going to brown my carrot much. Just add it in to incorporate it. That's basically what I'm doing right now. Okay. I'm going to put this aside. And I'm going to get my pot heated up a little bit. I'm going to turn it. I was on medium high to get that brown, that onion. Now I'm going down to medium. Going to get this a little bit hot, and then I'm going to put some of the wine to do the deglazing. Okay? All right. Okay. Let's see if when that gets hot, we will add our wine. Getting some of the brown, scraping it, not much fat in there, or I would be draining that or wiping it with a paper towel. Okay, I think we're ready. I'm just going to do, you know what I do? I usually measure it with my thumb. I'm going to put my thumb right here. I'm just going to do about a ½ an inch worth because we don't have a lot. There we go. That's it. Just to deglaze the pan a little bit. Come a little bit closer so you can see that while that's bubbling, all the brown will come off of the pan or the pot. All the brown, and you scrape it, and it cleans it. It really washes the pan for you. Wash the pan with oil, with wine. Okay, that's bubbling a little bit. Now for this recipe, I think I had shared that we're just going to add half a can. This is a large can. And then I'm going to add a ½ a cup of water because it's going to cook for a long time. And then you'll see if it gets dry, you'll add a little bit water as you go. Okay, so that's simmering for about a minute or so. I'm going to add, see, this has a lot of vegetables in it, which I like because it's heavy on the vegetables, light on the meat, which is better for us. So I'll add that to it. Then I'm going to add my ½ a can of my tomato. See how beautiful this Cento? It's just so beautiful on its own. You can do this with a little olive oil, seasonings, some basil. That's it. You've got a delicious sauce. Okay, see, it's kind of thick. Now we're going to add our beef. The beef, see how it, even though It wasn't that fatty, this meat. A lot was left behind, as you can see. Okay, I'm going to lower this. I hear it sizzling already. And I'm going to add my half a cup. I think I'm going to let this cook for a little bit. And then I will add my half a cup of water. Actually, I think I'm going to add my half a cup of water right now. Okay, half a cup of water. That's better. That's much better. All right? Okay, now we're going to let this cook for every 15-20 minutes. I'm going to stir it. I will check back with you in maybe 2 hours and we'll see what happened, and we'll see if that's enough or we'll let it go another hour. Hi. So our Bolognese has been cooking for 2 hours. I think that's enough. I'm guessing if I had a bigger pot, maybe I would go longer. But I've tasted it and it's really tender, so I think we're ready. Now, typically, I know I've read that you eat the Bolognese with a thick pasta like a tagliatelle, linguine, or penne, which is my children's favorite. So I'm going to make that later for them. I have made brown rice for myself a couple of days ago. I like the short brown rice. And I first saute like a whole onion, because I love onions, and then I cook to that a cup of the short grain brown rice. Because not only do I not want to eat a lot of carbs, I don't really like to eat gluten that much myself. So if you see, I have about a half a cup. That will be my serving. A half a cup of the brown rice. So I'm going to get the sauce over here. And remember, at the end we add our cream, or in my case, evaporated milk. Not condensed milk, it's different. Condensed milk is sweeter, evaporated milk is not. Evaporated milk is no more than regular milk, so you're not eating any more sugar. Okay, can we get into this and see? Close up of this. This is so delicious, I wish you could smell it. The meat is really minced up, onions, the carrots, the seasonings. Half a can of tomato sauce, remember. 1/2 a cup of my evaporated milk. I'm going to pour it right in. It's not that cold and the sauce is so hot. So it's okay like that. Alright, I'm going to stir it up. It's really delicious. Now I'm going to reheat this later and it'll thicken up a little bit again for my family. So if you were going to eat it right away, just put it over to simmer for, about maybe 10 more minutes. Okay, so there it is. I'm going to spoon it over my rice. I'm not having a good portion, a big portion, but I will do double sauce to my rice. That's for me because diabetic, very low carb. Now, if you liked grated cheese, this would be your time to put grated cheese on top, but I don't really like it. My daughter would probably even put some shredded mozzarella on top of this because she likes that so much. So here we have it. I'm going to taste without hopefully burning my mouth. I did burn my throat. It's really delicious. It's so creamy. That little bit of the condensed milk really adds to it. It's such a delicious taste. I eat it with a spoon, to me, because of course I don't have pasta. Okay? So enjoy Bolognese sauce with whatever kind of grain you want to or don't want to use. Oh yes, you could also use quinoa. Quinoa's great. I've done that as well. If you don't want any kind of grain at all, you can use quinoa. Until next time, eat well, be well.